Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a Pantera album ranking video, and before I start off, I will admit that Pantera is not one of my top favorite bands, although there's a couple albums I do feel pretty strongly about, so I thought it might be interesting to do this, and it should be fairly short and sweet, I hope. So, let's start off at the beginning, when Pantera was doing the hair metal thing, and they had Terry Glaze as a vocalist before they even got Phil Anselmo. So what does Metal Magic sound like? The very first album from, like, is it 83 or 84? Can't remember, one of those years. I think it's 83. So it's okay. So it's basically just rock in the vein of like Kiss and Motley Crue. You know, the title, or that title track, but the first track sounds a lot like Detroit Rock City by Kiss, Ride My Rocket. And of course, the sexual innuendos are pretty bad in the old Pantera stuff. So, I don't know, like, this album's pretty raw. Production, if the production was better, I think these songs would shine a lot better. They're very radio-friendly type songs, but I honestly think they're pretty well done for the most part. But I'll have to call this average display of power. Now we go to Projects in the Jungle. This one is actually an improvement. The production's a little better, not great, a little better, but we'll kind of notice that some of the songs on this album are tuned down. So they're actually kind of heavy in their own right, kind of like Motley Crue in their early days, how they kind of had low-tuned guitars, and it sounds pretty cool. But some of the songs in here are just far too commercial and lame for me to like. But then again, there's like a decent amount of, like, not really speed metal, but some like speed metal-y type of tracks on here that actually really are pretty awesome. The guitar works great. Of course, it's Diamond Daryl, not Dimebag Daryl, so only to be expected that the guitar work's going to be really good. But I'll still have to call this average display of power, because some tracks I just really don't like, even though there's some I really do like. Next, I Am the Night. There's some improvements and also a lot of the same on this one. So this album's got a lot more speed metal on it, like actual speed metal. However, some of the songs that are really glammy can be really, really, really cheesy and have really dumb lyrics. I don't know. I'm not going to recite any of them or anything, but I don't know. The production's maybe a little better on this one. I don't know. It's really hard to put this any higher than the other ones, because it suffers from a lot of the same problems, even if there are some legit cool songs on here. So, average display of power. So, okay, now we go to power metal. Finally, they get it absolutely right with this one. So, Terry Glaze leaves the band, and now we have Phil Anselmo, a really young 80s Phil Anselmo with actual long hair. He definitely looks like a dude right out of the 80s. And let me tell you something. Now, you can tell from Cowboys from Hell that he's actually a pretty awesome singer, but it even shines even more here. The dude hits notes like Rob Halford. I mean, he has one heck of a range, and it's really sad that he absolutely abandoned this through most of the 90s. But he really is a good vocalist, and man, power metal is where it's at. This album is speed metal, even some thrash metal. Couple little glammy songs on there, like We'll Meet Again, I think is that what it is? We'll Meet Again? I think so. And Hard Ride are two glammy songs that are just okay. But the songs Power Metal, Burn, Over and Out, Proud to Be Loud, Death Trap, this album is amazing. Like, I just love this to death. The production really works for this music a lot, in my opinion. So I have to give this a far beyond killer ranking. Next, Cowboys from Hell. This is the one that a lot of people think is the first Pantera album, which it actually is not. I used to think that a long time ago when I was a young teenager. And then I remember when I found out about the glam stuff, my mind was like I couldn't believe it. But so Cowboys from Hell is the album that put them on the map, and for good reason. This album kind of broke into that groove metal thing, but this album's still very thrashy. It's got a lot of the 80s thrash built into it, but with a twist. And, you know, you've got Dimebag's guitar with all the mids scooped out of it. You know, really, most of the time I wouldn't like this sound, but it really works on this album. The solos are insane. The riffs are killer. The guitar work is intense on this album. Even probably more so than power metal, and that album's pretty intense in the guitar department as well. This album really don't have any real flaws for me. I pretty well like all of it. So, it's a masterpiece. I mean, Phil Anselmo still kind of sounds like he did on power metal, but maybe a little meaner, a little less Rob Halford, a little more in your face, I guess. I don't know. So, I would have to say far beyond killer. Vulgar display of power. So, this is the first full-blown groove metal album by Pantera, and of course this album really put them on the map. I don't really like groove metal that much, but this album is actually really good. I really like the first half of the album more than I like the second half. I feel like the first half is more up my alley, a little bit of thrash here and there. The songs seem to be a little bit more memorable. Second half, not as much as the first half, in my opinion, but I don't know. I like it. Phil's starting to be more of that tough guy on this album. But, you know, it all works out pretty well. I'll have to give this one a pure domination tier. Next, Far Beyond Driven. You know... You can really tell that Pantera is starting to trade their talent, like trying to hide their talent for just straight heaviness. And, you know, it made them a lot of money. It brought a lot of attention to them. But to be honest with you, this isn't the Pantera that I like that much. I feel like a lot of the songs here are actually kind of dumbed down and kind of boring. A little too much... pentatonic riffage. But with that being said, I mean, this album's not bad. It's just not really my cup of tea. I mean, Strength Beyond Strength's pretty cool. I like Shedding Skin. Slaughtered's kind of fun for its own right. But this is just total tough guy. Just, I don't know. Just be as loud and heavy as you possibly can type of album, and it's alright. I give this average display of power. The Great Southern Trendkill. Kind of that, but even worse. So this one really sacrifices skill for heaviness. I'm not saying there's no skill. I'm not saying there's no good solos on this album or like any cool riffage at all, but it's just a lot of it's just about the heaviness, and heaviness ain't always better, in my opinion. I don't hate this album or anything. It's okay. It's just not my cup of tea. Average display of power. And then Reinventing the Steel. You know, I've heard some people really like this album, and I've heard some people kind of consider it just okay. Funny enough, I actually think Reinventing the Steel fixes a lot of problems from Far Beyond Driven and Great Southern Trendkill. I feel like the songwriting is better, more memorable. I think Dimebag relies too much on weird wah effects and everything on this one, but it's still pretty good. Like, the riffs are a little more complex, a little more like of something that actually makes me want to pick up a guitar and learn it. But it's not bad. Reinventing the Steel, I think Dimebag once said that this album was supposed to be like the best of all the Pantera albums. It kind of is to me. Like, it's still not as good as Cowboys from Hell or Power Metal, but I think this album's pretty good, and I will give this pure domination. Can't help it. I just think it's good. So that's it. Not a huge discography, so this didn't take very long. But, you know, I never really was into the groove thing as much as I was like the thrash or the traditional metal thing or even like the power metal thing. Just because I feel like groove is more about heaviness, where I'm more about creativity. I don't know. I mean, I really like to hear the guitar be pushed to its limits and do cool things. You know, I don't know, but that's just me. So I like Pantera. They're not one of my top favorite bands, but let me tell you something. If they kept going in the direction of power metal and Cowboys from Hell, they could have been really, really high on my radar. But, it is what it is. So that's it. I'll stop it there. Thanks for watching.